Hey, this is Dave Wood. How you doing? I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you from a cool location, actually, and I've got my view of the city right there, and I'm just making some random videos. And so in this video, I wanted to talk about just some of the books I'm reading and stuff like this. So I've been reading two books at the moment right now. One of them is actually taking most of my time. I made a video the other week about how I'm reading the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? So this is like the first volume, and I read something called the Propedia, right? So there's a book called the Propedia, which is like a giant 500-page table of contents, and I actually read the entire thing. It's not an index, it's a table of contents. And then I picked up the book one. Now there's 29 of these books that are just like this, and this is divided into two main sections. You have what's called the Micropedia, which has short articles, which is what I'm on right now. And then you have the Macropedia, which has longer articles. And I'm going to get to those longer articles when I get through. I think half of it is like this. So there's probably like 13 to 15 books that are like this. These are like mostly 300 words, 500 words, 700 words. And then occasionally there's an article that like covers a page, right? And I've actually really been enjoying it. I'll come back to that. The other thing I'm reading is actually on a Kindle, because some of the books are a little bit hard to get down here in Costa Rica. And so this one is called, I can't show it on the screen, but I'll show you, I'm on a page of my Kindle here. This is by my pal, Orrin Woodward. It's called Insidious. This is a guy that has been a majorly positive impact in my life. He's somebody that reads like I do, but he's been doing it for maybe 25 years. So Insidious is a book about the financial matrix and the Federal Reserve banking system. Right now, I'm about 66% into it. I only take like 15 or 20 minutes to read this per day just because I'm in the middle of too many other projects right now. So I basically have time for my main reading, and I have time for this. Flipping back to the encyclopedia, I'm actually super glad I'm reading this right now. Let me explain what this experience is like, because I've been wanting to read an encyclopedia for probably about 2 years. Before in my life, I never would have ever guessed I would read an encyclopedia, but I told my parents about 2 years ago that I'm going to read the encyclopedia all the way through. And they're like, okay, that's interesting, right? And then just very recently, I was able to pick up this 2003 copy of the Britannica, which I used to have in my house when I was a child, and begin to read it. And I have read every single word, 450 pages in. I'm currently at an article about the Antichrist, but I haven't read that one yet. So the interesting thing is that this is I just happened to be in an article while I'm making the video about the Antichrist. This is only like one article of the entire thing, but that is exactly where I am. And so this has everything from Bible characters, to leaders in history, to kings of Wales, to, presidents of the United States, to names of wars, to names of cities. So what I do is when I see a city in here I've never heard of, I look it up and see where it is on Google Maps. So I kind of am grabbing a lot of geography in my mind. But the interesting thing is that I'm going through this, and this is obviously a compendium of human knowledge that's very accurate, is that I'm amazed at how much shit I don't know about that is on the scale of available human knowledge. I'm amazed at how much nothing I know, because 85% of this stuff that I'm reading about, I have literally never heard of it at all. I had no idea that they existed. Places I didn't know exist, people groups I didn't know exist, right? Languages, people groups, people in history, kings, wars, and I've just never heard of it. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know any of this stuff. So by the time I go through and finish the Britannica, I'm just going to take my core knowledge of human knowledge and take it and blow it up to where it's a lot more wide and a lot more deep. So it's actually I've been enjoying it. I actually get up at 4 in the morning, and I usually read till 10, or if I wake up at 5, I'll read till 11 o'clock. And the whole time I'm just amazed at all this shit that I've never heard about. I'm like, I've never even heard of that ever in my life. How does so much stuff exist that I've never even heard about? It makes me think about wondering how radio signals work, and how, phone transmission technology, works, which is also obviously part of radio and stuff like this. So very fascinating, and I'm getting a lot about it. From time to time, I'll probably talk a little bit about my experience in reading this, but now that I've started reading it, I really can't get any more than between 30 and 40, maximum 50 pages per day, because it's just complex. There's 1,800 words a page. It's dense. There's 15 new vocabulary words on a page that I've never heard about before. And I got to read it slow enough to where I understand it. Otherwise, what's the point, right? So I can't really get through this as fast as I can in regular books that are much easier to understand. And so it's going to probably take me 1.5 to 2 years. That's probably the length of time that they're looking at, but totally worth it and totally honest. Awesome. Now, this is interesting because this shares a lot of thinking that I've had over the years, but also that I've ran into about the financial system, right? So this book is basically about how the banking system is robbing the world blind, right? And I mean, the fractional reserve banking system, if you didn't know about it, is robbing you blind of all of your savings, right? And so this book just goes into this incredibly well-researched, incredibly intricate detail of how the financial matrix just rips off civilization and bankrupts everyone. And it's pretty incredible read because he's got ideas in here. I mean, out of the two, I would probably recommend this book. Again, it's called Insidious by my pal Orrin Woodward. I'd probably recommend this one over the Britannica because now that I'm reading this, it would really take you 2 hours or 6 hours a day for 2 years to get through this, and most people are just not going to do that. But a lot of people can read Insidious. So this book, it is about, again, it's about the financial money matrix and how civilization is just controlled. Like there's like a giant mosquito with 1 million beaks sucking the blood out of all of. So I don't know if mosquitoes have banks, but they have the suckers, that come from their nose, the sucking nose, suck your blood out. And it's like sucking the money out of your wallets. So basically, it has to do with how the banking system involved, how money is created from thin air. Actually, money is created from debt. And how we're basically enslaved as a civilization to financial institutions that generate money from nothing, and in the process of doing that, rob the wealth of civilization blind. I mean, they're robbing us blind. It's so ridiculous. So anyway, I would highly recommend it. That's some reading that I would recommend you do. But overall, like I say in all of my videos, whether or not you read any books that I read, I would recommend, no matter who you are, that you pick up a daily reading habit, a daily personal development habit, daily time for you. Because if you don't do that, you're going to stay the same. And if you stay the same, you're going to get the results that you've always gotten. And if you continue to get the results that you've always gotten, you're going to continue to repeat the cycles that you've been repeating for the last year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Some of you have been repeating the same cycles for 60 years. And if you don't lift your head above the water and see that you've been drowning and find a way out, and that happens through thinking, through building systems, through building businesses, through creating a new way to do things. If you don't find your way out of the cycles that you've been stuck in the past, you're just going to stay stuck in those cycles in the past. Look, they say something, there's a common saying that is very untrue, right? And the common saying that is very untrue is that time heals all wounds, right? The truth is, no, it doesn't. Time doesn't heal wounds. Sometimes all a wound needs to heal is time, because everything else that's necessary in order to be able to heal has already been accomplished. But when the other stuff has not been accomplished, time doesn't heal wounds, right? So just because you've been going through some sort of bullshit in your life for a very long time, it doesn't mean that tomorrow it's going to be any different than it was yesterday. Actually, tomorrow is more likely to be the same as yesterday than it is different, right? You're more than likely to repeat what you've done in the past than to change it, because changing takes a lot of work. And the changes that you start creating now take a long time sometimes to show up physically. So a lot of times you have to stick with a personal change program through a long period of time before you see any results. And sometimes when the results begin to come, they come and they stack up and they accelerate very rapidly. Does this make sense to you? And so one of the ways that you can get out of that is reading, things like listening to audios in your downtime, things like doing affirmations, right? I have my own way that's very scientific of creating affirmations that I could talk about in a future video. The things I talked about the other day, like getting your vision and your values aligned. These are all things that have to do with personal development. But if you stay the same mentally, and if you stay the same in your heart, your life on your outside world is also going to stay the same, more than likely, unless, you hit the lottery or something like that. And a lot of people that hit the lottery, they end up just losing all of the money because they're the same person that they were yesterday, but now they have $1 million, and the person that they were yesterday just loses money all the time. And so now that they have $1 million, they just lose all the money. You see people who win the lottery and it ruins their life, right? So waiting for a lottery is not a good solution to fix your problems. What's a good solution to fix your problems, and not just fix your problems, but build a life that has a lot less stupid problems and a lot better problems. And a better problem to have is, like, for example, what do I do with all of this money? Well, that's a good problem, right? Because you have money. A bad problem is, how do I generate $50 in order to buy, a new part for my car? Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to drive to work. And that's the problems that a lot of people are suffering in. So one way of doing that is by constantly feeding your mind new information that you have never been exposed to before, that is going to help you accelerate your life in a positive new relationship, in a positive new direction. Have you suffered through relationships that you don't want in the past? Well, then maybe you should get some education and get some new affirmations and new beliefs and new social structures around you that are going to foster the kind of relationship that you want, and you're going to create now something new that is radically different than what you've created in the past. Remember, even though most people do stay stuck in the past, this is what happens most of the time. Doesn't mean that you need to, because the past does not equal the future unless you make it so. Because let me share with you a secret. It takes just as much energy to maintain your old past thinking and to maintain your old past patterns as it does to change them. It seems like more work to change. The reason it seems like more work isn't because it's actually more work. It's because you have to take your energy and direct it into new locations that you've not been accustomed to. So you might not be used to, for example, picking up a book and reading for an hour a day. I don't suggest that you read 6 hours a day like I do, right? I wouldn't expect barely anybody to do that. But there might be some people watching this who might want to pick it up. But you could take a timer and you could set it for 15 minutes and you could pick up a book and you could do it every single day. Over the course of a year, if you do that, you might read 20 or 30 books over a year if you read 15 minutes a day. It's significant. Most people, 50% of the population, after they get done with school, they never pick up a book again. And their income and their life stays the same, right? So what do they take all their energy doing? They take all their energy and they're scrolling through social media. They take all their energy and they're watching Netflix. They take all their energy and they complain about their life rather than doing affirmations. Do you realize that complaining about your life is the exact same process as doing affirmations of a new life? It's no more work. Because what most people do is they walk around and they say, oh, my life's so awful. Oh, the government's getting me. Oh, Donald Trump, he's going to get us all screwed, And then they complain about one thing and they complain about another. And what they're doing, you don't even realize if you've been doing this. You're creating affirmations of how you believe that life is, right? And what people generally do with their affirmations, because everybody creates affirmations. This is what you got to realize. This is not a new skill. You do this all the time. You're just, rather than repeating that old garbage junk that goes around in the cycle that keeps you stuck in the past, what you're doing is you're repeating the person that you desire to be, that the affirmations help you become. That's what affirmations actually already do. You're already doing affirmations. Those times, for example, when you're in the middle of the day and you're like, you say, oh, I'm just no good, right? You ever do something like that? I mean, I've done things like that, right? Or you're like, oh, my life is just getting more awful every day, right? You ever said that, right? Most people said things like that. Do you realize that that is an affirmation? That's what the personal development books are teaching you how to do. So all you do is you switch out the garbage with something that's new, and there's scientific techniques in order to help you do that, to where they sink right in and they begin synchronizing your life with new behavior in as little as 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. This video doesn't have time to get into that, but they're very simple, very scientific techniques that you can use that implant affirmations into your unconscious and conscious minds in days. So here's how you know I'll tell you this about affirmations. Here's how you know if an affirmation is working or not. What you do is you have, let's say, a group of affirmations that you've been repeating some affirmations out loud. That's a very old technique, but let's say that's what you've been doing. All you got to do to test your affirmation to see if it's working is you say something that is the opposite of the affirmation and see what your mind just does without you thinking of anything, right? So like, let's say you're repeating an affirmation like, I am the best salesperson on planet Earth, right? Now, then what you do is you pick up something that's like the reverse of that, like say, like, I suck at sales. And then if your brain just automatically says like, no, you don't, you're the best salesperson in the world, right? That is your unconscious mind showing you that your affirmation is working, right? So it's like an immediate rejection of anything contrary to it. That's how you know you've implanted a new belief. And you can implant new beliefs for a few things at a time in literally like a few days. And it makes a massive difference to who you are right now, but also it makes a really big difference, particularly to who you become over the next 5 years, right? Because who you are in 5 years, it has to do with the reflection of what you're speaking into the universe right now, on not just once through the day, but on a constant, ongoing basis, right? Does that make sense? So you become sum total of the books that you read, the audios you listen to, the videos you watch, the people that you're associating with, and what are you putting inside your brain, and what's making that, or what from that is coming outside your mouth. So sometimes I refer to books that I'm reading. Again, I don't expect anybody that's watching my videos to pick up the entire encyclopedia. They don't even print it anymore and read that all the way through. You're talking about 44 million words. I don't expect you to necessarily read this Insidious book, although I'd highly recommend that, particularly if you don't understand how the financial system works. For me, about 70% of this book is stuff I've read in other locations before, but there's a good 30% of it that is new information that's very unique. And he frames it in a way that if I had read this book first, I would have understood it a lot faster from the other things that I read, because it's taught better here, right? I don't expect you to necessarily even read that. What I'm saying is, you decide what's your vision, what your value is going to be, and then what material do you need to put inside in order to create not what I want for you, but what you want for you. But actually, that is what I want for you, because what I want for you, what I want for my team, what I want for the people that decide to work with me, because people all over the world want to work with Dave Wood. What I want for the people that want to work with me, which is basically everyone, right? Maybe they're just not in yet, but they are deciding to join literally as they're seeing this video. What I want for them is I want them to attain not even what they want necessarily, but the highest manifestations of themselves that they can possibly create. So not just even what's in their head, not even the goals that they're necessarily setting right now, although I want that for them too, if they're good goals, if they're in alignment with universal principles. I want for them the highest possible vision, the highest possible manifestation of what they can possibly be. And that's why people want to work with me. So if people want to create, a business where they've got a 1,000 team members, and I see this person and I see a person that could build a team of 100,000, right? I want to help that person get to a higher level than what they even imagined for themselves, because there's people watching this video right now who you heard something in this video today and you're going to make a shift and a change, and it's going to lead to a series of other decisions, and boom, just like that, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, your life will take on exponential curves, right? You can't even imagine how much of a difference you're going to be able to make in the world by all the new knowledge and beliefs that you're going to create inside the mind, inside the heart, and inside your own life. So again, this has been Dave Wood. Comment below if you want more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video.